In this video I'm going to be putting this Suzuki SJ10 through its paces, and it's hard to get over how excited I am about that. You will have seen in a previous video, I hope, my test of this Honda N600, both vehicles part of JHW Classics. You can visit jhwclassics.com, find details of all the cars, and they offer storage and hire of the vehicles as well, not for personal drive but for filming and that sort of thing. But this is one of the more interesting vehicles here, I think, in what is, to be fair, a very interesting collection. We'll start with a bit of history. The Suzuki 4x4 story effectively starts with a predecessor of this vehicle, the SJ10, which had a 359cc two-cylinder two-stroke engine and a four-wheel drive system. Suzuki had been looking at the Steyr-Puch Haflinger in the 1960s, but ended up buying the Hope Motor Company, an ambitious name and an ambitious company. They developed their own little 4x4. Suzuki liked what they saw, replaced the parts bin engine and other components that Hope had taken from other manufacturers with Suzuki items, and the SJ10 was launched in 1970. Since then, these very basic 4x4s have gone through 4 generations. The current Jimny is still part of that series of vehicles, still uses a ladder chassis, still uses beam axles front and rear. It is a proper little 4x4. This one is a Japanese market, I believe, SJ50. They developed a larger engine for export vehicles because obviously 360 is a bit restrictive. So I think it's just over 500cc, but it's a triple cylinder two-stroke engine. So a lot of the early K cars used two-stroke technology because you could get a lot of power out of a tiny power plant, because you're getting a bang twice as often with a two-stroke engine, and it seemed to make much more sense. So this feels like real history here. This is the evolution of that line. There was a later SJ80 which had an 800cc engine, and I think that's the one we first got in the UK. Looked quite similar to this, but used an 800cc engine. So this one is unusual. We didn't get these here, so I'm really looking forward to it. I've heard it maneuver into position. You're going to love the sound. Now let's have a bit of a look around. So one thing that isn't apparent immediately from this front view is just how tiny this vehicle is. But if I pan back this way, look how short it is. It's absolutely tiny. It's comical. You're almost sitting on the rear wheels when you're in the front of it. Very simple, utilitarian, designed for strength and not all that much refinement, I imagine. It uses leaf springs front and rear on these beam axles, dinky little number plate under here, and you can probably see the fuel tank and the rear axle there and the front axle beyond. So no idea how you meant to get into the back of it, but I think we'll jump in from this side instead. So just pull the handle and we're in. All very simple. Got the gear lever down here, so 4-speed manual gearbox, and we've also got 4 high, neutral, and down to 4 low, and 2 high for when you're driving on the highway. So you've got 4-wheel drive in a high ratio and 4-wheel drive in a low, so you can crawl around very slowly. It does actually have seats in the back. Look at that, a pair of little fold-up seats if you want to bounce around in the back of this vehicle. I like the fact we can see daylight under the tailgate. And the roll bar offers some reassurance, I guess. But I'm going to try and hop aboard. Let's see how this goes. Oh yes, that's cozy. It is quite small, but there are the gauges in their little recesses there. I've just noticed this, the wiper control has got a thumb squirter in it. The wipers are at the top of the screen, so you know I'm looking forward to a wiper test. The handbrake down here, and it looks like you can lock it. So that's an unusual thing. How weird. So you can actually lock the handbrake up so people can't steal the vehicle. Choke control here, lights here, and there we go. Main beam. So the main beam is that light there. That's not all that bright. We've got a brake warning, a cassette, or sorry, a radio built into the dashboard. Don't know if that works. and a tiny little glove box here as well. There we go. Oh, and that's got the bonnet release in it. That could be useful. Let's pull that now. There we go. It's yeah, all very metallic in here. Lots of Japanese instructions around, because this is a Japanese market car. And let's wind the window. Oh, look at that. It winds down very, very quickly. So yeah, it's a bit tight up here for me. I don't know if the seat moves backwards at all. No, it doesn't. There's no adjustment unless you unbolt the seat and move it. So I'm going to have to put up with cozy. But here is the 2-stroke engine. There you go, made in Japan, 3 cylinders. There's a distributor, and then we've got an alternator as well, so it's fairly advanced. Nice bit of Japanese script going on here. In fact, all over the place, and I've no idea what any of it means, but there's full and low mentioned there. Got a screen wash bottle with the Suzuki logo on the top. Yeah, fascinating. It seems like quite a big engine, and it seems quite high up as well, so the ground clearance must be pretty epic under here. Yeah, look how there isn't a sump, because it's a 2-stroke engine, so you haven't got to worry about taking that out. And then we've got the tiny little axles under here. It's fascinating. I'm really looking forward to taking this one out. So what I love about the collection Jane's got here, it's not just fancy luxurious cars. I mean, there are some, without shadow of a doubt, but she's interested in unusual cars, and this really is one. So this is thought to be the only 2-stroke Suzuki of this type in the UK. There may well somewhere out there be some water-cooled ones with the 4-stroke ones with the 800cc engine. I have a feeling there was one doing the rounds on the auction scene a few years back, but yeah, very rare. It was the later SJ10 and 413 with a 1.3 litre engine that really hit the market in the right time in the 1980s. So that was the second generation of these 4x4s, and yeah, they had a little more performance. I mean, the 410 was still fairly slow, but they became very, very trendy, and suddenly everyone wanted one driving around London. I'm not entirely sure why. But yeah, I'm intrigued. I want to see what this thing's like, so I think we should take it out. Well, here we are in the Suzuki then. First of all, notice how the wiper motor is up here, so you can't actually put the passenger sun visor up fully. That's quite a neat feature, but we shall fire the little engine up into life. We've just been for a run just to warm her up. And there we go, surprisingly smooth. That's not the noise you expect, is it? It sounds like a Wartburg, but here we are in a Japanese 4x4. We better do a wiper test. See if we can do this left-handed. Squeeze, squeeze. It's not the best washing system I've ever seen, but there we go. Upside down wipers. Upside down, triangle of doom. A very slight one there, but at least being upside down, you're not going to get any dribbles. There is an awful lot of stuff reverberating and bouncing around, so you'll have to bear with me as we go for this drive. This is going to be noisy. Let's attach it to the window. Touch my microphone over here, so I can keep an eye on the sound levels, and we're ready. Right, one thing I can do, we've got 4-wheel drive with low box, so I can put it in low, and we'll see just how slow it'll go. There we go, very slowly. In fact, too slowly for all this traffic that suddenly appeared out of nowhere. But that is first. In low box. So we should pull back over and put her in something a bit more appropriate. So clutch down, back up to 4 high, across, and into 2 high. So we're back into 2-wheel drive mode. Just let this van come past. Plenty of room for you, sir. And away we go for real. It's just the most bizarre experience. It just isn't the soundtrack you expect in a 4x4. And there we go, that's 60 kilometers an hour. The speedo only goes up to 80. It's just got red marks after that. So 80 kilometers an hour is about 50 miles an hour. The roof's banging, we're doing 70 kilometers an hour now. It's about 43 miles an hour, I think. 75. See if we can hit 80. And there is 80, and that will do, thank you very much. I think we're going to settle back down to 70. This is not a performance machine. Suzuki tried to sell these all over the world. They even tried to sell them in Australia. But can you imagine driving through the outback in this? I have no doubts that it's probably tough enough to do it, but it must have been exhausting. The later second generation, the SJs, they were quite a bit more popular. It was still fairly agricultural, to be honest, but not this agricultural. But yeah, you have to say it's charming, even though the handling is mildly terrifying. Steering is quite vague. The brakes, oh, the brakes are good. Just weird. That's the soundtrack I associate most typically with Wartburgs, the East German car with a 3-cylinder 2-stroke engine. DKW also used it. They said that 3 by 2 equals 6, so they were as smooth as a 6-cylinder engine. I'm not quite feeling that today, but it might be the vehicle rather than the engine that's at fault there. So back down to 50 kilometers an hour. Oh gosh, this is proper bone shaking. The driving position really cramped. I can't say this is really all that enjoyable from a comfort level. It's hilarious though, absolutely hilarious. One of those cars, you wonder how they managed to sell any of them. So I suppose they had their uses. These things would go anywhere. Probably drive up the side of a house with that gearing. Yeah, really weird when you take tight bends because you're sat pretty much on the rear axle. It's like driving a hot rod. Nice, precise little gear lever there. It's probably going straight down into the gearbox. It's definitely one of the more painful journeys I've undertaken, I think. Oh gosh, I'm just going to pull in here for a moment. Oh. And try and recover. Oh, let's take you for a walk outside because the view here is quite epic. So I think this is a 1975, but I just thought I'd bring it out just for the ridiculousness of this crazy little Japanese K truck and this beautiful church here. Definitely an interesting experience. But I love, if you look at really late SJ413s, the ones built in Spain, they have very similar light arrangements. And those round indicators also used on the 4th generation Jimny, which the world is currently falling in love with. Yeah, listen to this exhaust. How hilarious is that? I'm just going to do the wipers again. Look at that! Woo! Wonderful. It is only lap belts, by the way, so you can't see that I'm actually strapped in, but oh, what an experience this is. Yeah, it's not often I drive a vehicle I wouldn't want to drive again, but this is so bouncy and so cramped. Yeah, I may pass on this one if I was offered a second drive, but I don't regret driving it today. This is just hilarious. Oh, Nissan El Gran there, another Japanese import, a very different one. Yeah, we won't be doing a 0 to 60 in this one, that's for sure. Crazy, crazy fun in a crazy little Japanese contraption. A Japanese torture contraption, I think. Oh, well, there you go. A very interesting vehicle. How very, very lovely. I really enjoyed that. Thank you very much to JHW Classics. You can follow them on Facebook and follow the exploits of all their cars. There are a great many in their collection, and they like to keep them in regular use and have little reports on them. So follow them there, and they do offer some self-storage, oh not self-storage, some car storage as well if you're after that, in the Worcestershire area. But otherwise, yeah, a pair of fascinating cars. I've been waiting years to come here, so I'm glad Jane's been patient and waited for me to finally make it. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed that as well. I think I've definitely proven with power, less is definitely more. What a huge amount of fun for each cc of these tiny vehicles. I shall see you in a future video. Farewell. Heh